What would you do if a smooth-talking conman scammed you when you were at your lowest? In today's story, the protagonist's choice is a masterclass in how to get permanent, digital revenge. It all started in the early 2000s, in a country that isn't the U.S., where the law was a bit of a no-man's land for the kind of scams I fell for. My company was going out of business, and the owners were shutting down while they still had enough cash to pay our severance. I was about to be unemployed. At the same time, my wife, a nurse in an expensive hospital's ICU, was caring for a patient who'd just had a close call after cardiac surgery. One day, she calls me. She tells me about this patient, a gentleman in his late 50s we'll call Benny Lowy. He was supposedly so grateful for her care. He told her he worked in electronic imports, which gave him access to incredible deals. The hook was set. He said he could sell us a store demo LCD TV for a quarter of the retail price. The only catch? We had to keep it quiet, because he was supposedly risking his relationship with the brand. I was caught off guard, but I said yes. The only TV we owned was a 100-pound beast we'd gotten as a wedding present, and we were desperate to replace it. I know, I was naive, but my wife was his nurse. She had all his personal data. It seemed unlikely he'd scam her. Plus, his father was a well-known, respected businessman, and we had mutual acquaintances with his brother, a doctor at another hospital. He seemed legitimate. As Christmas approached, my wife asked Benny for advice on a gift for me, a phone. He hooked her up with the best she could imagine, the Sony Ericsson flagship, a model not even available from local carriers yet. He claimed he had access because he was the local rep for the brand. She paid him for it. Then came the real masterstroke. My wife, knowing I was about to be laid off, asked Benny if he knew of any openings for an IT guy. Of course, he said. The next day, I met him at a gas station coffee shop. He pulled up in a luxury car, a normal-looking guy who used a cane and had a noticeable limp. He told me about a mid-management position at a mining company, reporting directly to him. He coached me on the interview. We talked salary. I was dazzled. Wait, mining? I thought he was in imports, but he was the kind of guy who moved so fast you couldn't pause to question things. He'd already thrown in that the paycheck was better than the job I was losing. We agreed he'd pick me up on December 24th to introduce me to the senior managers. I woke up early, put on my best suit, and waited. Hours went by. Finally, after calling him repeatedly, he answered, wailing. He told me he'd been assaulted and robbed. They took my cane and broke it on my knee. He cried. Of course, this also meant he couldn't deliver the TV and phone my wife had paid for. That night, when my mom asked about the new job, I couldn't tell her the truth. I just said it was going fine. He rescheduled for December 31st, and again, there I was, in my best suit on a summer morning, waiting. Of course, he was a no-show. This time, his excuse was even more elaborate. When his wallet was stolen in the previous mugging, the thieves had apparently dropped it during another robbery, and now he had been detained as a suspect. The electronics were now stuck in a different customs unit and would take weeks to retrieve. That night, at my parents' for New Year's Eve, I lied again. It's all fine, I said. This revealed his greatest fatal flaw, his monumental arrogance. He believed he was untouchable, never imagining that his web of lies would eventually unravel in the most public way possible. A week later, he called with an update. Because of the police investigation, the mining company had fired him, but he spun it as good news. Now, I was going to be interviewed for his old position, IT manager, double my former paycheck, a huge leap in my career. I was so grateful I didn't ask questions. I thought all the delays would finally pay off. As you probably figured out, the interview never happened. The electronics never arrived. We had lost our money, our time, our Christmas, and my hope. I was still unemployed, having passed up other opportunities for this lie. I texted him once, in desperation, "Why are you doing this to us?" He texted back, "If I wanted to. You have nothing on me, but if you stick with me, you'll be rewarded tenfold." Time passed. Then, a breakthrough. My wife was working a shift at another hospital when she overheard a coworker talking about a patient who had scammed her. It was Benny. Even better, her husband was a detective. A few hours later, we were at their home, filling him in on every detail. He quickly found a third nurse scammed by Benny. Soon, Benny was detained for real. He admitted to the scams, blaming them on a suddenly invented case of mild dementia. The detective, knowing our case was weak without any written agreements, brokered an off-court deal. Benny had to pay back every cent in exchange for us not pressing charges. The money, it turned out, came from his elderly father and his brother, the doctor. Many people wondered if his well-respected father ever stepped in. The truth is, he only did when his son was facing real consequences, bailing him out but otherwise keeping his distance. I had my money back, but not my time, not my dignity. I couldn't take further legal action, but there was no non-disclosure agreement. And I thought, what could prevent him from doing this to someone else? The answer, I realized, was Google results. I was in a unique position. I could tell my story without legal risk, so I created a blog on WordPress, something like Benny Lowy the Scammer, WordPress.com. I wrote a single post in the third person, detailing the entire scam, and ended it with a simple question: has this happened to you? In the days that followed, the comments section exploded with a dozen stories just like mine. He had a long history of doing the same thing in different ways. With permission from the authors, I began turning their comments into their own posts. A testimony from Javiera from X City, I'd write, and another story of his deceit would be indexed by Google forever. The blog told of scams far bigger than mine. Testimonies revealed he had once lied his way into a job as chief academic officer at a prestigious university. There, he allegedly acquired expensive equipment like Silicon Graphics mainframes on the university's behalf, machines that never arrived. He also charged students for government-sponsored training programs that were actually free. Then one day, he vanished. He even scammed an old childhood friend who was struggling financially, promising to get his son a full scholarship and bleeding him dry with fake fees for paperwork and expediting the process. His final text to the friend was a masterpiece of manipulation. It seems I crossed the line in trying to help you. I was fired from the university and they are suing me for trying to promote your kid's application for full scholarship benefit. I'll need to fly low for a time. This is the key to his method. He targets people in vulnerable moments, the unemployed, small startups, anyone desperate for a break. Years later, I discovered through public court records that he tried to sue the local contact for WordPress. The grounds? That my blog was undermining existing, past and potential activity for the plaintiff. I'd say that part is true. The case was dropped, but he appealed it all the way to the Supreme Court and lost. In another case, the court not only dismissed it but ordered Benny to pay the attorney's fees for Automattic, the parent company of WordPress. To add insult to injury, a third lawsuit was filed against him by his own lawyer for unpaid bills from those failed cases. I was so tempted to post on the blog. If I wanted to, you have nothing on me, but I never did. To this day, 15 years later, if you Google Benny Lowy, that blog is the very first result. I haven't been contacted by him or his family, which tells me he scammed so many people they don't know who started it. Every few years I log in, thinking about taking it down, but I see new comments, new stories of people he's still trying to scam. The blog has become a place for victims to connect, team up, and sometimes, succeed in legal action. It's a place for them to rant, and their rants have become a permanent, public warning sign. In the end, Benny Lowy taught me a powerful lesson. When the system can only give you your money back but can't restore your time or your dignity, the internet can offer a different kind of justice, a public, permanent, and searchable justice that protects others from the same fate. Have you ever seen someone get their comeback in a totally unexpected way? Share your story in the comments below.